All right, we are live. All right, welcome everybody. Aloha kakahiaka, which is good morning in Hawaiian. It is March 19th, 2021. I'm Peter Kay, and I'm glad you're here. This is the pre-game show. If you're watching this pre-recorded, you may want to fast forward about 5 minutes. We're going to give it about 5 minutes to get our mics working, make sure the Facebook stream warms up, and get the audio like the strange echo I'm hearing right now. All those kinds of things. I got my friends over here. I got Scott Startzman, who's on Oahu. I got Dylan Nonaka, who's on the Big Island, and we have Heidi Dollinger, who is on Maui. So let's do a little mic check in reverse, clockwise and counterclockwise order. Heidi, how are you doing today? And what's what's the coffee of the day today?
Well, I am doing great. I have not even had a chance to get coffee yet because our show is starting an hour earlier. No daylight savings time here, but we're just getting in sync with everybody else in the world. So I'm looking forward to a good cup of coffee after the show.
Yeah, I've got mine, but yes, indeed, that is a phenomenon. We'll have a phenomenon. The thing we'll have to talk about, Hawaii does not have daylight savings time, so we have to kind of keep rejiggering our brains twice a year. Dylan, what's going on over there, buddy? How's the mic? How's the Big On? How's the weather? How's everything? Unmute yourself. I can't hear you. Unmute.
Wrong button. I turned off my camera too.
Yeah, that was good.
Good thing we're warming up. Good thing we're practicing.
That's what the warm up is for. That's what the warm up's for.
Well, it's absolutely beautiful today after a couple of weeks of weird weather where it was raining and we were getting a lot of rain on the Big Island. It's nice today, but talking about daylight savings time, I already missed my first meeting this morning. I was told to be on at 8 and then it was actually at 7. So I was on time, just an hour late.
I hate it when that happens. Hey, bring your camera down just a scooch. You're a little bit looking. There you go. That's it.
All right.
Thank you, Scott. What's going on with you, buddy?
Yeah, same thing. Just kind of scramble mode. I think the palm trees back here got a haircut the other day, so they're looking a little thin right now. But at least there's some nice weather. The last couple of days I've been waiting for like Noah's Ark to come by and pick me up.
It's been kind of really, really crazy. Hey, so we got our folks are coming in over here. Christopher, hey, happy Aloha Friday. Indeed, Christopher, happy to you. And Jim says, Aloha kakahiaka, everyone. Heidi, I ordered coffee from her favorite coffee shop, still waiting. There you go. Coffee, plug the coffee shop. They got a sale off of the show, man. We need a coffee sponsor, I think. Jim, was that you that sent a question about vaccines? Let me know if that's you, because I've got your slide ready for you. Marcus Hill. Mark is a member of the Islander Ohana coming into the incoming spring cohort, which is sold out, by the way. We sold out in 1 week, which is totally awesome. We have 16 people actually oversold it. Mark, welcome. And Joanne, welcome back, Joanne. Pre-approval for second home loan last week. Congratulations, Joanne. She's following the Islander Ohana way of doing stuff and got herself pre-qualified. Joanne is also a member of the Islander Ohana. That's awesome. The weather's it's been like that. I can't remember. Scott, can you remember the last? Right, I cannot remember the last time it was this rainy this consistently. It was weird. It was what? Scott, you may want to bring your camera down just a scooch to kind of get it to the upper head over there. There we go. Good. Everyone's looking good. All right. All right. And yeah, we all here's the tech tip in my 60s. I'll do a Peter K computer minute, which yeah, that's Jim. Okay, good. What you want to do there's a method in your calendar events, which you could do if you're having a meetings with folks on the mainland. You can set the calendar, at least in Google Calendar, to use the mainland time zone. So you don't do it in a Hawaii time zone. You set the calendar for the mainland time zone time. So if you're meeting with someone at, say, 5 p.m. Central, you set it for 5 p.m. Central as opposed to 12 or 1 p.m. Hawaiian time. This way, what will happen is the calendar will switch automatically based on daylight savings time. It'll change on your side. Technical. Too much stuff going on, but that's what's happening. So it's Efrat. Oh, got no clue how I arrived here. Okay, well, Efrat, there must be a client of Dylan's or a contact of Dylan's all the way from Italy. Awesome. Dylan, are you familiar with Efrat?
I'm not.
All right. Well,
reach out. Yeah.
There you go. Welcome, Efrat. We're glad. I don't know how you got here either, but I'm glad that you're here. All right. It is time. It is time to start the show. It is 9 a.m. Hawaiian time exactly. We're all really glad that you're here. I'm your host, Peter Kay, and I am here with my very good friends from across the state of Hawaii. We got Scott Startzman from Oahu. We got Dylan Nonaka from the Big Island, and we got Heidi Dollinger, who is hailing us from Maui. We're going to start our show with the usual, I've got some news that might be of interest to visitors and to folks that are coming to Hawaii. Everyone's coming in. Hey, give your I love just gonna quick one. There you go. Oh, Alex, Dylan, Alec is going to be get together. So Alex, if you haven't filled out that form yet, you want to make sure you fill that form out we have a link in the description to get a hold of Dylan if you haven't already reached out to Dylan directly. Tom, hey, welcome back, Tom. Good to see you all. And Tom, we got Tom's here. Tom Kerr. Hi, Tom. How's it? Good to see you again. And Tom Main, good to see you again too. Great. Everyone's coming back. It's great. It's like the old family say, it's like a family get together, right? Islander Ohana, right? All right. let's roll over here. So I want to give you folks a quick update on kind of what's going on, local news that you might find of interest. So here's what's happening here. We got a couple of things. Looks like the visitor industry is coming back. There's that graph on the right-hand side. The pink is 2020. The dark blue is 2021 for the same time of the year. And you could see on that the rightmost part that the dark blue is almost where the pink is. So it's an amazingly quick recovery, and we're getting all kinds of reports that, for example, Oahu is Waikiki. Looks like it's crowded again. In fact, we actually tried to get some reservations last night. We were looking for reservations for a birthday dinner that we're going to have today, and we could not get reservations like anywhere. So everything was booked. So it looks like things are coming back, which will be a great relief, I think, to many. And we still have three people got arrested in breaking quarantine. Don't break. Don't do it. It's a big deal here. It's still a big deal. Don't break quarantine. Don't break the rules. And what they're doing is they're making examples of people who kind of come in. They're not following quarantine rules. Some people are foolish enough to do social media posts, and they get busted. Don't do it. The vaccination is underway. It looks like in Hawaii, we've got the 65. If you're 65 or over in Hawaii, you're getting yourself in line for vaccination. So this is a great thing. Things are moving on. And a further indication of what's happening is the mayor of Honolulu, Rick Blangiardi, is easing. He decided to ease the restrictions on bars. So bars are open. They haven't been open for a very, very long time, sometime last year. So bars are happy. I've got a good friend who's in the bar industry, and he is stoked to be opening. So it looks like so far so good. Things are on track. Things are opening. Things are coming back. And that's a good thing that everyone is happy about. And finally, a little fun story is that we are officially the Rainbow State. In other words, there's a new publication by a University of Hawaii scientist and professor who laid out all the reasons that, of course, we who live here in Hawaii know to be true, which is Hawaii has the most rainbows of any place on earth. This is the Rainbow State. And rainbows are the coolest thing. I have a little hobby I try to take photos of rainbows that I'm seeing with my own two eyes, and it's just really great. So that's a fun thing. Let's kind of go around. If there's any news, let's talk about news first, and then we'll go into our real estate update. So Scott, anything on Oahu that you want to report that I should have included in my report?
No, just to give you a story. I mean, I went downtown to eat the other night at a restaurant, and the whole time we were there for a good 2.5 hours. The entire time we were there, the place was full. They had a line outside, and I am seeing a lot more people in Waikiki. So the tourists have definitely come back. We're definitely seeing increased numbers. Part of it, I think, is because of spring break right now, but there's a lot of people, and it's harder to get into restaurants now. You gotta set the reservations in advance to be able to get into restaurants now.
And especially with social distancing, restaurants are at half capacity, and so it's much harder than it used to be. Dylan, what do you have to report from us on the Big Island news-wise?
Yeah, so an interesting perspective I heard yesterday was that you would think that all of this trouble you got to go through to travel here would deter people, right? Having to get these pre-tests and stuff. But actually, they've been surveying folks, and the reverse is true, where we are incentivizing people to come because we're actually a safe place to come, right? People are getting on a plane with people that have been tested. When they come here, they know everybody else has been tested to travel here. So it's really a lot more attractive to come to Hawaii than it is to go to Vegas or Florida or somewhere else where people normally vacation, because you have some level of security that you feel that it's safer here because of the traveling testing program. So interesting effect. I think, reverse effect, the conventional wisdom would be that, it's a deterrent. People aren't going to come and go through the trouble, but people are actually doing it because they feel safer coming here.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. There was a lot of controversy, right, of how they were going to shut down. There was a lot of controversy that they shut down the visitor industry completely. Just you saw that graph that I had earlier. It was just like tanked. But looks like that's we're recovering, and
And I
that's the
saw
good
and I
news.
saw yesterday they've administered 500,000 vaccines in the state. I mean, that's literally half the population, pretty much. So that's pretty impressive.
We should be at herd immunity right around the corner, and I for one cannot wait. I still haven't gotten my vaccination. I'm one of the deplorables, so not quite there yet, but I will get one soon, I think. Heidi,
I don't think we qualify. You're not old enough, Peter. Sorry, you're not old enough yet.
well, that too,
And
right?
you're not essential.
Clearly, I'm
Apparently.
not essential. I'm not essential. So, like I said, I'm a deplorable. Heidi, fill us in. What news? What things do you have to report from us from Maui?
Well, I just wanted to remind everybody who's thinking about traveling here how important it is to follow all the directions on what you need to do and what type of COVID test you need to get with Hawaii Safe Travels and uploading your report. Had kind of a sad situation this past weekend. A client was flying out to see properties, got turned around at the airport, immediately had to fly back. He had a COVID test, but it was not from an approved provider. So he basically just got as far as the Maui airport and had to turn around and fly back to California. So really, really, really sad story. I'm just sharing it. So hopefully this won't happen to you. Also, I've been getting a lot of calls from people asking about, I've gotten the vaccine. Do I still need to get the COVID test? The answer is yes, you still need to get the COVID test, even if you had the vaccine. So just wanted to remind everybody, hopefully that happens to no one else. So.
Thank you, Heidi. That's a fabulous tip. That some time ago we put together a show on the COVID process. You still have to do that Safe Travels app. Thank you, Heidi, for pointing that out. It's vitally important. They are talking about it, but they're talking about it. They haven't done it yet. That they're talking about if you're vaccinated, you can also come in without having to be quarantined, but that has not been officially noted yet. So that Safe Travels app, that whole process that is available. And if you folks look, if I get some comments that you folks don't know where to look, I'll dig up the link and I'll pop it back in the description. But I think you folks know enough to kind of to look around for finding the Safe Hawaii Safe Travels app. That's kind of what you want to look for. That's what you want to follow. So thanks, Heidi. That's a great reminder. Got a couple of comments over here, Heidi. A couple of things that you might be interested in. So Tom says he may have a potential Maui client for you. Thank you, Tom. Pop that one in. Heidi, if you're in touch with Tom, make sure you follow up with him. Or Tom, if you haven't, pop in that link, pop your contact information in the link in the description so Heidi can get a hold of you. And Tom makes a great thing. Yeah, your population is getting vaccinated much faster than on the mainland. So far, so good. So there's been a couple of glitches, but it looks like we're moving on. And it's I, for one, cannot wait. All right, let's move on to what we've got next, which is a real estate market update. So here's where we kind of do a quick update of what's happened in the past 2 weeks in the Hawaii real estate market. Notable news. Let's go counterclockwise. Let's come up from Heidi. Heidi, what's up? What's going on in Maui that you want to report on over the past 2 weeks?
Well, the Maui market continues to be, super busy. I always say that. It probably sounds silly that I say that, but it's the reality right now. But I just like to share a couple statistics from February just to kind of put things into perspective. So our February stats showed that the median price of a single family home on Maui up 23% to 931,000.
Wait, hold on a second. 23% from what? Up 23% from the last year, from the previous year?
Yeah, comparing last year to this year.
That's insane. Think about that. That's insane. A 23% increase. I'm sorry, Heidi. I had to point that one out. It's just crazy. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then condominiums up 1%. So single family home market is just extremely hot right now, and condos have really picked up too. It's a competitive market out there. But in looking at these statistics too, part of the great increase in pricing, it's just that more high-end homes have sold too. So you have to take that into account. Every single listing doesn't mean it appreciated 23%. So
Right. There could be some numbers that threw it off, but even the fact that that number even gets uttered, right? Even the fact that we're even kind of saying 23% is crazy. Thank you, Heidi. Quick comment here from Zell. Hotels are at 40% occupancy. People not doing their normal planning. It's more month to month, but at least it's going up around 10% a month. Yeah, Zell, it's definitely people are coming back. And I think as the, what was it? President Biden said that he'd like to see everyone to be vaccinated or be allowed to vaccinate by May. So hope springs eternal. We do see the light at the end of the tunnel. Dylan, what's happening on the Big Island besides bananas?
Still bananas, man. Hasn't changed. I just looked this morning. There's 13 homes under $1 million in Kona and only 24 under $2 million. So inventory is extremely tight.
So how would you contrast this? So you said there's 13 homes under $1 million, and you said 20 under $2 million. What would be what would you normally expect that there to be in those two categories normally?
Oh, like 100.
Oh, my God!
Yeah, like four or five times that many homes. Yeah, normally on the market. So yeah, it's really there's really nothing available. And the funny thing, I think we talked about this last week, but there's a huge gap between when you look at the homes that are on the market. There's like homes that have been on the market less than 7 days because they're going to go under contract within a week, or they've been on the market for more than 90 days because they're just totally grossly overpriced, or there's some major flaw with them. So there's like nothing on the market that's been on the market for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. There's nothing in the middle there, because if it's priced right, it sells immediately, and if it's priced wrong, it sits because there's nothing you can do to sell a overpriced property. But very interesting dynamic. And I put a listing on the market this morning for $450. It's the cheapest house by $100,000 in Kona. So I'm sure it's going to be, my phone will be ringing off the hook all day today.
I was going to say you should have turn your ringer on so we can hear all the phone calls that come in on the phone. That's just bananas. You made an interesting point, Dylan, and that is that if a home has been on the market on the Big Island right now, the market is so hot that if a home has been on the market for, let's say, 60 days or 90 days, it means one thing and one thing only: it's grossly overpriced, right?
Yeah.
Because we had that email. Somebody submitted an email saying, "Hey, I saw this house and it's been on the market for 90 days. What's the matter with it?" Well, the answer is it's way the heck overpriced. That's the problem with it. Doesn't mean it's a bad place. Just means it's way overpriced for what you're getting. We've got a quick question in here from Zagi. Zagi, if I want to live in Hawaii, how can I do that? I'm from Europe. Well, besides immigration issues, which you need to research because immigration is a United States issue, not a Hawaii issue, you want to get into the Ohana, dude. Click on the link, get on the newsletter. We send out newsletters every single Wednesday that announce shows like this and a lot of other things. That's what you need to do if you want to make that happen. Scott, give us the Oahu update. Give us the Oahu bananas for the banana report update.
No, it's insane. It's still, nothing's changed. Not on the single family home side. We're up 20% for February on price for single family homes. Condos.
Sorry about that. I just had to just kind of slow you down because it's just a number to you, but it's like to Teresa. Wait a minute, 20%. Single family homes up 20% on Oahu from the previous year. 20%.
Yeah, same time, and that's same time previous year. So, and that's right prior to COVID, obviously, right?
Right.
So, and then I went through all the neighborhood data just to kind of look at the numbers for the neighborhoods for year to date, which is going to be January and February numbers. And almost every single neighborhood is between 18 and 25% price appreciation. So it's there. The sales price momentum is there on the single family home side. So now we're seeing the movement to the condos, which is what I'll talk on today, because I feel like every week I talk about single family homes going nuts. But and in particular, like Waikiki, for example, last year pre-COVID, the 90 days prior to COVID, there were the 90 days after COVID hit. So April, May, June last year in Waikiki, there were 126 sales. If we bump forward to the last 90 days here now, there's 219. So we're almost getting to the point of doubling the number of sales in Waikiki. So the tourists are coming back. I said it before, we're at the bottom on that Waikiki market. If you want a good value, if you want a good deal, Waikiki's where it's at right now. The market is starting to change. Price is still down about 1%. But when I look at even Ilikai, I mean, just to give you perspective, so more sales are increasing in Waikiki. If you look at Ilikai during that COVID period, there were the median sales price right prior to COVID was $756,000 in the Ilikai. It's now $617,000. So not only do you have an over $125,000 price drop, You can get the condos more affordable in the Ilikai, but now the sales are starting to come back, as you can see. So if you want to buy in on the bottom and ride things up until, tourism fully comes back, which it's started to increase, the opportunities there in Waikiki. So that's kind of my highlight for this one is Waikiki sales price is still down by 1%, where the single family homes are going nuts. And that's the buy opportunity, but it's starting to change.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. That's a great tip. A quick sort of a combination of a disclaimer and a bragging point here. One of the both things. Look, no one can foretell the future. Scott made a good prediction about what's going to, Scott made a prediction about what's going to happen in the market. And what I use personally, this is my personal thing, what I use as how much do I believe someone in their predictions, right? Whether you're talking about the real estate market or whether you're talking about, global warming, sea level rises, stock markets, whatever, I don't care what it is, the population of rabbits, doesn't matter. What I look at is I look at the track record of someone's predictions that they've made in the past. Has someone's predictions in the past been good, been accurate? Have they made good predictions in the subject matter that they're making a prediction on? And that's what I generally use to decide on whether I think their prediction is worthy of attention. Well, you can go back, you can do it yourself because they're still recorded. You can go back to a way back vid, and you can use the Wayback Machine, so to speak, and go to our real estate channel and go way back to like right after COVID. And you could see what these folks were all saying, and everybody was saying. We talked about the COVID market and what's going to happen with Hawaii and what's going to happen with the Hawaii market. Is it going to crash? People were asking about that. Is there going to be a market crash because COVID, and what's going to happen and things like that? And everybody here to a person said, market's going to be stable. You better get this now before the rush comes in. We all said that. We said it consistently at every single show. And this is what's turned through. This is exactly what has turned. Well, I'd have to say we were wrong in our predictions, right, folks? Because you all didn't think it was going to be this crazy. You saw it was going to come back, but you all didn't say it was going to be this crazy. So go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, so that, obviously what I'm saying is all things being consistent, being the same, this is the direction we're headed. Tourists are starting to come back. We're starting to come out of the COVID timeframe with vaccinations and kind of getting back towards normalcy. So you would expect the economic side and the tourism side to start getting back to a normal level over the next couple of years, which means you're kind of buying on the dip is the prediction. The one thing that's really important for people to understand right now is second home loans and investor loans just jumped in interest rates. Fannie and Freddie just changed their guidelines to where they see more risk in that category for some reason. And in doing so, the rates went up significantly. So that's going to impact some of these people that are coming in from a borrowing standpoint. So I do expect that to hopefully slow a little bit of this acceleration rate. Now, by no means do I feel like we're going to be at no growth or going in the opposite direction. But if we can get into a 10% price appreciation range, I would feel much more comfortable over the long run with something like that. But keep an eye on interest rates. They are going to probably slow some of this momentum. The question is by how much.
So interest rates are coming up around the corner is kind of what your general sense of it is. Yeah. So look, the predictions, you could look at the predictions, and they were, if anything, they were conservative. They were things were much more than we had thought. So when I hear Scott saying, hey, Waikiki has been in a dip, which it has, he gave you some quick numbers and he says it's coming back. Well, if you're looking at condos in Waikiki, this is the time to look at condos in Waikiki. If you're not a condo in Waikiki, then it's not. All right, I've got a couple of things over here I want to follow up on real quick. So Zagi asked for the link. So sure, Zagi, I just popped the link out. This is the link to get on the newsletter. This is the Living in Hawaii weekly dose of Aloha newsletter. You want to get yourself onto that. And I think there was another question about the travel. Somebody, let's see who asked this. Christopher said, what are the approved mainland testing sites for COVID? So Christopher, I'm going to pop this link in the description right now, which goes to hawaiicovid19.com/travel. That's the definitive site. This is the official site. This is where you want to go to get as your starting point to get information so you can avoid the disaster that Heidi had mentioned about Maui. Richard Lancaster is back. Hey, Richard, good to see you, buddy. Welcome back. Richard's a longtime member here. I should say a longtime audience member, best way I can say it. And let's see. Jason's got a question. Hey, Scott, any decent single-family townhouse options in Waikiki? Scott, The face says no.
It's all vertical. I mean, it's funny too. Like if you look at single family home sales, so everything in Waikiki is going to be vertical, condo, high rises. There's only one kind of 3-story townhouse option off of Halbrun Lane over there. That would be the only one that I even really know of. But if you look at single family home sales in Waikiki, there's like one sale every quarter because there's hardly any homes left down there. It's all vertical.
So really what you want. So Jason, if you're into a single family home, you get there's a district right outside of Waikiki, just outside of Waikiki. Kapahulu would be one that comes to mind. Diamond Head, of course. Diamond Head's right behind Scott. If you look way back there, there are some single family homes back there, but Waikiki proper is pretty much only condos. Okay, I think we got all of the. I think we covered everything. All right. Let's move on to before we move on to our next topic over here, I want to give you all a pitch for the link I just sent out here to Zagi, which is, are you in the Ohana? If you got here through getting the newsletter on Wednesdays, the newsletter goes out every Wednesday morning. If you got it via the newsletter, you're in the Ohana. If you did not get here through the newsletter, you need to get on that. And I just gave that link to Sagi. You want to jump on that and get the notification. This is your step. This is part of joining our group, being a part of what we got. We have the Islander Ohana, which is a more formal group. The Islander Ohana are people that are really serious about Hawaii and want to come here in the best possible way. That's a different story. At the very, very least, you want to jump on and get on the newsletter. All right, let's move on to the topic for. Let's see. I think Jim is over. Jim, Jim comes over and he's usually our the first person who jumps on our Facebook stream. Jim gave me a question, so I wanted to honor his consistent attendance to put his question up first. These are questions that were submitted through the form. Again, if you get the newsletter, you'll get notifications. You'll get a link to where you can submit your questions in advance. If you do them in advance and you're here, we'll give you priority. And on this topic of rentals and vaccination, there was another question that came earlier about condos and quarantine. So let's just kind of hit these two together. So this one is from Jasmine from Washington, who says, can I buy a condo during quarantine? And if so, can I immediately move there and stay quarantined? I'll be coming from the airport. Can a taxi drive me to my new condo? And back to Jim's question is, Jim says, are 6-month rentals available in Waikiki? Will being fully vaccinated allow me not to have to quarantine? So let's hit the easy one first, Jim. Will being fully vaccinated allow me not to have to quarantine? And as you heard from Heidi, the answer is no. You still have to go through the normal process. That link that I gave, I just put that link out there to the hawaiicovid19.com website. You need to follow that process, get on the Safe Travels app, and so that you can skip quarantine. You have to have that Safe Travels app, and you have to have like a check mark, an okay check mark, which means you have to, right now, you have to get tested and show your test to be negative. That's how you avoid quarantine. There's no other way to avoid quarantine. Let's hit the 6. So Scott, if you can kind of quickly address the 6-month, and we got this other one here about the condo. Can I move in, stay quarantined? I think you can certainly buy a condo and move in and stay quarantined. And getting a taxi drive from the airport, yes, not a problem. Again, this is all assumes you're testing negative. If you test positive, it's a whole other story. You might as well fly back. But let's go back. Scott, give us the quick one on 6 month vacation. Do you know how you have a sense of how the vacation rentals market is going on in Waikiki? Any sense of that, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, the vacation rental market's still way off. So if you're Kuhio Avenue to the ocean, that's the resort zoned district, which means short-term vacation rentals, which means nightly rentals are an option for in that section. If you get Kuhio Avenue to the Aloha, that's apartment zone, which means minimum 30-day rental. And then, so 6-month rentals are plentiful in that area. In fact, there's plenty of people that live in Waikiki that on, year leases or own a condo down there and live full time. So the other option then would be, or the other portion is how restrictive are some of those condo buildings in Waikiki on that side? Are they more restrictive than the 30-day and require a minimum 3-month or 6-month lease? But there are plenty. They're located between Kuhio and the Alawai Canal.
Got it. Thanks, Scott. Okay, great. Mahalo from Jason. Jason, you got it, buddy. Anytime that we could help you out with. Got a couple of questions over here before we move on. So, Mark, is this a better or worse time to consider leaseholds? Better or worse time to consider leaseholds? Scott, I can tell by Scott's face says it doesn't really make a difference whether it's a better or worse time. Scott, go ahead.
No, when I look at leasehold, I look at the actual lease contract and make the projection on value on that point. And if I got somebody into a 75-year leasehold unit where it's set for the whole time, and he was like, "Oh, should I buy leasehold?" I'm like, "And you're not going to be around by the time that lease expires. It's practically fee simple for you." So it just depends on the lease.
So leasehold is a big topic, and Mark is a new member of the Islander Ohana. He's coming into the spring 2021 cohort, which is starting in April. Mark, hang tight, because right now, actually, we are creating another course that we're going to add on to the Islander Ohana courses about real estate. And I know we're going to include a detailed section about leasehold on that Islander course. So stay tuned, Mark, and thanks for being a part of the Islander Ohana. Sagi says, please call me Sunny. Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's much easier. Mary asks, how is the job opportunities on Maui? So look, generally speaking, here's my general answer to the this is the wrong screen over here. So my general answer to job opportunities anywhere in Hawaii is that if it's a complicated story, but generally speaking, job opportunities, if you don't live here, you don't have a job opportunity, with the exception of if you have a highly skilled and rare and sought after position, you might have a chance of a job opportunity. But I'll tell you this, we have partnered with Hawaii's largest employer. This is altres.com, ALTRES.com. If you go to altres.com and you do a job search, the first thing that Altres asks you is, are you coming from the mainland? And if you check yes, they say, you want to get a hold of Peter K. of Living in Hawaii, here's the link. Because right now we're not accepting job applications from the mainland. So that's the general story, Mary. And there's all kinds of issues. There's a generic piece. Hawaii right now has the highest unemployment in the country, 10% unemployment. So for the jobs that are seasonal tourism jobs, not a good situation. If you have a highly skilled position that is rare and sought after and needed in Hawaii, you may have a chance. But otherwise, it's a very complicated process. Not complicated. You basically have to live here. We talk about this. If you go to the Islander, I'm going to post a link to the Islander Ohana page. We talk about this in one of our classes, which is how to ace the job interview. And it's people. There's a process you have to go through. You can't just kind of apply for a job on the mainland and expect to get it. All right. Thanks, Mary. That's kind of a long, somewhat convoluted answer, but I think it's an important one to be as honest as we can. Jim gives a big mahalo to us. Mark says, can you type in the names of those streets and describe those zones in chat again? I'd like to see where Airbnb sits. So, yeah, Mark, I'm not sure what the question is. You can give us a general thing of your Airbnb, and we'll tell you where that might be, and that would be.
He's referring to the street names, Kuhio to the ocean and Kuhio to the Aloha. I actually have it kind of broken down on my website, so somebody could contact me if they. So
Kuhio is one. So I'll chat out a Kuhio. So Kuhio is one street. Kalakaua is the other street. What's the other one, Scott?
Aloha.
Aloha.
But the Kuhio is the divider. Ocean side of Kuhio is resort. Mountain or Mauka side of Kuhio is the apartment zone.
Mark, if you want to give us a little bit more info on where you're at, we can tell you kind of where that's located. Got a lot of questions over here. Joyce, now points here. Thank you, Joyce. Joyce says we have travelers here that work in medical fields for 3 to 6 month period. That's the only exception I've heard. Exception to what? Quarantine? I'm not sure. Or I can watch the video again later. Yeah, Mark, it's okay. Just give us just pop it in. We'll do the best we can to answer it for you. So yeah, you're welcome, Mary. We got you. We've got you covered. All right. I think we're ready to talk about our main topic for today. We're just moving right along. If you have great questions, everybody, keep them coming. This is what this show is all about. You're live. You're here. You get priority. Pop it in. We'll do the best that we can to answer them. All right. So I wanted to talk. We got a lot of questions that had come in about owning rentals, not renting, but essentially owning a rental and doing something with it. So let me give you a quick sample of the kinds of questions that we've been getting from folks. Let's do it this way. Yeah. So here's a couple that we're going to round all these up. So one question we got here, and this is from Daryl. Daryl is a member of the Islander Ohana, and he said, he's basically asking, should we uh, our goal is not to use Hawaii, but to come and live here and become part of it. So what we'd like to do is, he's saying, would you consider it right and wise to purchase a smaller condo now, which doesn't fit your family, use it for a vacation 2 to 3 months each year and be cramped for the short time, with our case with little children, and rent it out for the remaining time during those prep years using a property management company? Then when you're ready to move, sell it and buy the actual home that you'd want to live in. My thought is that you've held some of the equity to curb the inflating prices, as well as gain at least some modest rent after paying the management company. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I assume there are some property management companies that can assist with renting, cleaning, and helping renters. Will they think of it, or will they do it, or will we get fleeced as mainlanders? So Daryl's question is really from an investment perspective. Should I buy something now to curb these prices, right? To kind of ride the wave, if you will, and then when we actually move here years down the road, sell the condo and we've got some appreciation. And in the meanwhile, can we rent it and use it? That's one question. Another question. Here's another one. Buying a vacation rental home. We're planning to buy a place in Oahu as a vacation home for a few weeks a year and then rent out when not used, almost like Daryl. And we want to spend some more time in retirement there. We'd like to have a place with some ocean water and easy access to good swimming to the ocean. Could you please help us in comparing these options? Single family, condos, minimum 1 month rental, condos allowing short term, ko'olina, etc. Again, same kind of question that we want to kind of lop in. Here's another one for the Big Island. We're aloha everyone. This is from Judy. We're planning to buy soon and then rent our home in Hawaii out to others for a few years. Same kind of questions. What's your take on this? Good idea, bad idea? They're looking on the west side of the Big Island, the Waikoloa district. What's going on right now? Here's another one from two questions from Judy, and then we're trying to decide whether to buy now in Kona and rent the home out for 3 years. We're moving here, and any advice would be appreciated. Here's another one. Long-term rental from Vida Santa Rosa. How difficult it is to buy long-term rental houses on the Big Island, finding reliable property management. Would love to be able to rent to a family who would ideally stay there for more than a couple years or even longer. So this is more of a longer-term rental. We need at least a 4% return on investment and gross rents. Okay, 2 adjacent or attached residences would be even better, so we could even have a vacation home. Then at retirement in 5 to 10 years, eventually move in and sell or buy something else on the Big Island. You get the pattern here? So we're going to lop all these together because there's been a lot of questions that are related today. Here's another one from Urid in Dallas, Texas. Is buying short-term rental eligible condo a profitable business? Have vacation condo prices come down due to COVID? Well, they haven't come down, but you get the idea, right, folks? So everyone's asking about how do we kind of do this general idea of buying some kind of a rentable property now, buying it, using it for vacations, kind of here and there, but, renting it out when we're not there, holding on to it. And then when we move to Hawaii, either move into that unit or sell that unit and buy a real house. That's the big topic. So that's kind of what the general setup is. So here's how we're going to break this up. We're going to break this up, and what we're going to do is we're going to go around the table here. We're going to do our owning rentals roundtable. So we're going to go through Scott, Dylan, and Heidi. And what I want to talk about first is, what are the best locations? So on Oahu for Scott, or Big Island for Dylan, or Maui for Heidi. What are the best locations that are good for doing this kind of thing? And what are some regulations you need to know about? So I want to get those 2 questions first from each of you. Let me bring everybody up on the screen here. I'm going to get those 2 questions first from each of you. Best locations and what regulations do you need to know about in related to the kinds of things we talked about, which is buying a condo, using it and renting it out, using it and renting it out, and then later kind of selling it. So those are the 2 things first. And once we get that, let's do that quickly, but let's get the answers. And then we're going to come back and talk about the money aspect. And the way I kind of want to break that up is on the dollars is, Dylan, give us a perspective of what you need to know, again, from the financial perspective as an operator. If this is your piece and you're doing it, what do you need to know about, what are important about the numbers if you're the owner of this rental? Scott, hit it from the investor perspective. If you're investing in this sort of thing, what kind of are the investment parameters that you need to know? And then finally, Heidi, from a vacationing perspective, what is it that you need to know? What should you be keeping in mind about from the dollar perspective of whether this is going to pay for itself or not pay for itself, or how would this work? Y'all got that? So we're going to hit the regulation, the locations of the regulation first, across the board. Then I'm going to go back around and we'll talk about the financial aspect. I set this up generally, but you all know how it goes. This is just to kind of get some organization to our conversation, and we're gonna talk about it and see how it all flies. Okay. I think I did that whole thing in one breath, right? Okay. Let's start. Scott, why don't we start with you? What are the best locations to do this, and what regulations are important that you need to know about?
I mean, best locations. Actually, I don't think it matters so much. It's in fact, I closed last week on a Kapolei townhouse where they're doing this exact thing. They're buying, renting it out, and down the road they'll be able to use it to get them to where they want to go on the next property. Now, that's minimum 30-day rental. That's workforce housing kind. That's not in the tourist districts, so it kind of depends on what you're looking to do. You can go into Waikiki, Ko'olina, or you can go into Turtle Bay. Those are the main places for your resort zone short-term vacation.
So we got three. We got Waikiki, Ko'olina, and Turtle Bay. Those are the ones for the folks that want to have a kind of vacation rental. Okay, short term. The folks that want to own it and come out for vacations every so often, and then rent it out when they're not there. Okay, what are some regulations that are important that you should keep in mind for Oahu? Because I know the regulations are different for each island. What should you know, generally speaking, on Oahu, so as you kind of go through this process?
Yeah, so if you want to do the short-term vacation rental, you need to be in the resort zone districts, period. That's it. And those are the three areas. You get outside of that, it's minimum 30-day or greater, depending on the restrictions.
So, for example, if I bought, say, for example, I bought a single family home on Oahu, and I want to rent it out. So it's not really feasible to think. What I'm hearing you say is it's not really feasible or perhaps legal to rent out that house for 2 or 3 months, or to rent it out. Okay, I'm singing no there, right?
No, you can rent it out for 2 or 3 months. It's minimum 30 days. If you're in residential zoning or apartment zoning, it's minimum 30 days, unless you're in an association community that is more restrictive, meaning they'll have some kind of CC&Rs in there that require you to rent it for a longer period of time. So it's whichever is more restrictive at that point. But it's 30 days, minimum 30 for single family homes typically.
So it's a 30-day minimum, right? But it's not like it's not sort of your vacation rental. You can't Airbnb the house out for a week, so to speak, right?
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah, that's the issue. You can't.
Yep.
So basically, what you want to be doing on Oahu is you want to be Waikiki, Ko'olina, or Turtle Bay. If you're looking at a vacation rental that you want to own, come out for a vacation, rent it out for the rest of the year. Great. Dylan, what are the districts? I've got that map ready if you want to show that. I've got what are the districts the locations and regulations that are important that you should know about on the Big Island?
So location wise, it's interesting because I wouldn't say there's one location that's necessarily better than others, because they have their advantages and disadvantages, but you have a lot of people that don't want the traditional resort experience. So surprisingly, a lot of my clients who buy or had operated rentals in rural areas prior to regulations going into effect, and then maybe got their license to continue to do very, very well. And they almost are more profitable because they have a lower cost to get in. You can buy a home in a rural area for a lot lower price point and rent it for somewhat of a similar, lower, but somewhat of a similar per night cost. And then a lot of times it's booked for more time than the areas that are more touristy and resorty. And so those folks end up doing better. Of course, the conventional wisdom is a condo in a resort area is going to do very well, and the beach is going to do very well. So it works both ways. It kind of just depends on what your preference on ownership is. So I wouldn't say there's like a specific area that is better per se than others, because there's disadvantages and advantages to all areas. But on the Big Island, it's very complicated. The regulation is very complicated. So you do want to reach out and have a in-depth discussion about that. I got several videos explaining it on my YouTube channel. But first, you got to determine whether or not you're in the right zoning. And then potentially, if you're not in the right zoning, there could be a non-conforming use permit that was applied for 2 years ago, and they got it, so they can continue to rent it because they're kind of grandfathered in. If you're doing single family home and you're not renting the whole home out completely, the whole regulation doesn't apply. So if you have like a guest quarters or an upstairs downstairs type situation, you can rent. So you really got to evaluate. There's no good way, public way, unless somebody puts it in the comments, to really know what the situation is, and we have to do some evaluation on the back end on zoning and other things. Because even if it has the correct zoning, if it's a condo with that has the correct zoning, but the CCNRs of the condo restrict rentals to 30 days, then that doesn't work for that condominium complex. So you really got to take it kind of case by case. And there's no simple, they haven't figured out a simple way to filter and search for that publicly. We kind of got to do it on the back end on the MLS.
So the word I'm hearing you say is that, okay, the districts are less important, frankly, than the district per se, is knowing the specific issue with that specific property that you're interested in. And there's no way to do like a Zillow search to say, hey, show me all the properties that are, vacation rental approved on the big on, so to speak.
And same thing, you could have units in a condominium complex that has the correct zoning that doesn't have the permit yet. So you can buy any unit in that complex, apply for the permit, and then go ahead and rent it once you get the permit. That's an important thing to consider, because it can take up to 90 days for the county to respond to you. So once you close, you could have a 90-day period before you're approved to rent it. And so those are some costs you're going to have to eat waiting for that approval. So sometimes people prefer to shop in complexes where the unit that specifically already has the permit in place, because they can continue to rent it immediately. But that shouldn't deter you. If there's a complex you really like and a unit you really like, you can get the permit. You're just going to have to wait a couple of months before you can actually rent it legally.
Yeah, with that, as my eyes roll back into their sockets with all the complexity here, it's like, yeah, you better have someone who knows what they're doing about the market. Don't go into this, don't do search buying by Google. Don't do investment properties by Google searches. Heidi, what are the districts that are good on Maui, and what are some of the regulations that people should know about?
Sure. Well, the best areas to buy a vacation rental condo are probably going to be South Maui, Kihei, Wailea, and then also West Maui, which is Kaanapali, Napili, Kapalua, Lahaina, all those areas. And that's where you're going to have the largest inventory of properties that allow vacation rentals. If you're buying a vacation rental on Maui, it's probably going to be a condominium. We have lots of condominium complexes and areas on Maui that allow vacation rentals. You don't need any permit. You can just buy it. You can start renting it right away. Easy. Now, when it comes to a single family home, it gets a lot more complicated. First, you'd have to own the home for 5 years. Then, assuming it's in a community that would allow this, then you apply for a permit with the county. They send out letters to all your neighbors. Anybody has a chance to object to your plans to do a vacation rental. And there's really no guarantee that you can get a permit. Even if you were to find a listing that was already a legal permitted vacation rental home, if you purchase it, the permits are not transferable. So if you purchase it, you can't continue vacation renting it. You'd have to start the process over. So anyway, if you want to do vacation rentals, I'd recommend looking at a condominium that allows it. It's way easier. And I also wanted to note that a short-term rental on Maui is considered anything less than 180 days, which is 6 months. So we don't have any of that 30-day thing that they have on Oahu. It's a vacation rental, which could be nightly, weekly, monthly, whatever you want, or it's 6 months or longer. And that's the distinction between long-term and short-term rental on Maui.
So run it by me again. If it's under 6 months, if you're renting under a 6 month period, it's considered a short-term rental. And if it's over 6 months, it's considered kind of a long-term rental. Is that that's the distinction?
Yeah, and that's why it's so hard for people that just say, oh, I want a month-to-month rental, or I want something for 2 or 3 months, because the owners of these short-term rentals, they're not really incentivized to give somebody a break for a 3-month rental when they can rent it nightly at the full rate. I mean, that's kind of what I see.
So it's for the same reason that you can't rent out why you wouldn't want to get a hotel room for 45 days because the daily rate would kill you. It's that same reason that it's the people who have short-term rentals are incentivized to rent them out for much shorter terms. There's no such thing as a long-term short-term rental. In other words. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay. Great. Okay. So now let's talk about the financial aspects of this over here. So let me kind of refresh my memory as well as your all memory here. So what we're going to do is going to talk about the Dylan kind of hit it from the operator point of view. Kind of what is the things that you need to kind of know from the operator's point of view financially, Scott from the investors, and Heidi from the vacationer. Again, this is just general speaking. You can say whatever you want to say. I want to talk about the finances. What do the numbers look like? Like Daryl's question was really about the numbers. Does this make financial sense? There was some question about, I want a 4% ROI. How do you make this work? Dylan, from an operator's point of view, financially, what should you be thinking about?
Definitely one piece is, how much work do you want to do, right? So the more of the rental that you outsource, the more cost you're going to have. So if you're going to be an operator and you're going to do the cleanings yourself, you're going to do the bookings yourself, you can obviously make a lot more money if you're going to do all of that stuff, the marketing, all the accounting, paying the taxes, because there's management companies that will do all of that stuff for you. But then you're going to be paying, 25, 30% management fee for them to take care of all of those responsibilities for you. So definitely operators who are more involved, I see, do much better. One thing to consider also is like on Airbnb and VRBO, they favor people who are engaged and involved. And so if you're a owner that is posting your property on Airbnb or VRBO and you're very engaged and you communicate and you get back to people quickly and it ends up leading to a very positive review, you're going to have better results on those platforms. If you're just outsourcing the whole thing and it's a management company with 100 units and they're not doing, not giving people that personal touch, it may not benefit your unit as much. So all of that is something you got to consider. And then from a cost standpoint, if you have a mortgage on the property, it's very hard to turn a profit. I mean, even if the rental does very well, when you add in the management fees, the HOA fees, the taxes, and then, mortgage on top of that, if you're breaking even, you're probably doing okay. But that's one thing you got to consider. If you're paying cash and you don't have the mortgage cost every month, then it may be profitable. But again, it's a case by case basis. Every single unit is different. The HOAs can vary greatly. So those are all things you got to run the numbers on. And then to just say like, I need a 4% monthly ROI, that's a little bit unreasonable because of our seasonal nature, right? We have very high occupancy in the summer and the winter, 90+%. But then in the fall and the spring, it can be under 50%. So you got to more look at it on a yearly basis. There may be months where you make a ton of money and months where you actually lose money, and then it evens out at the end of the year. So you just got to run the numbers and see what works.
Thanks, Dylan. That's a great overview. I think the moral of the story is it depends on how much work you want to do, right? That's the big one. That's a great insight on the Airbnb side. Scott, from an investor perspective, if I was an investor, what kind of things do I need to be thinking about to kind of get up to do the best possible investment if I'm thinking about that?
Yeah, I mean, when investors invest, they're typically investing for the numbers, the return on investment, and usually what I tell people is Hawaii is pretty much on the residential side, which is going to include some of the short-term vacation rentals of what I call a cap rate or a capitalization rate. And you can kind of Google what that is at some point. But we're about 4%, and it can be 3.5% to 4.5%. I can kind of get people in those ranges. And the biggest thing is if you're going to use your investment, that means you're taking it out of the investment pool at the time. The more you use it, the less return on your money you're going to get. So you have this big balancing effect that I have to chat with with people sometimes. Is like, hey, how often do you want to use it? We want to use it 6 months out of the year. We want to be positive cash flow. Okay, well, you've just eliminated income for 6 months out of the year by using it that much. So how do we position you? How much cash do you have to bring in? Do you have to pay all cash in order to be positive cash flow in that capacity? Or can we put some we call debt servicing or a loan on the property to be able to balance it out? And it's all just kind of looking at the numbers and massaging the game and what's the lifestyle and what's the kind of investment performance you want. We analyze it. Does this make sense for you? Yes, no, you can move forward or not.
Yeah, excellent. I think that's what you have to think about. It's all about the numbers and how much cash you want to put down. And I think that's a really good point that you brought up, Scott, which is if you use the property, you're sort of taken away. Then the other part of your calculation is, yes, you're using the property, but at the same time, how much would you pay for a vacation if you were to go on a vacation anyway? And how does all that factor? So lots of calculations. I hope you're good with spreadsheets to figure all that part out. Heidi, what do you want to add to this whole conversation about the financial side? I mean, I put you down for the vacation perspective, but it could be anything. What do you want to What can you sort of add to what we talked about from the financial point of view that people should be thinking about that we've missed?
Well, I work with a lot of clients who are investing in vacation rentals, and it's always a balance, right? Because you want to have good numbers, you want it to be a good investment, but what you're also investing in is your lifestyle. The best reason to buy a vacation rental on Maui is because you want to come and stay there and enjoy it. And the way to look at it is you're able to rent it out the rest of the year when you're not there and offset your costs. I mean, that's a good way to think about it. And then hopefully make a little bit of money. But really the ability to do short-term rentals allows you to do that versus owning a property that's going to sit vacant most of the year. So going back to, I think it was Daryl's first question, comment, should I buy something now, a smaller property, and then later invest in a home? I actually think that makes a lot of sense, especially if initially in the next few years or so, you're just going to be able to spend a limited amount of time on Maui, and then maybe down the road, when you're able to spend more time here, it makes more sense to buy a bigger property. And a lot of people do that, and it does give you a chance to spend more time in the area, get to know the areas. I think it's a great way to go.
Thanks, Heidi. Go, Dylan.
One other perspective, right? Even if the property is a break-even property and you get to use it for a month out of the year, for free, right? I mean, there's a lot of enjoyment, there's value to that. And you got to look at the long-term appreciation also. So you may not make the money year over year from the rental standpoint, but over 10 years, you might make a significant return when you sell that property. So that's one thing to factor into the whole equation also is don't focus so much on like the monthly or yearly returns. If you're looking at just park money, and like we're talking about these 5, 10, 20% increases in property values over the years, you could make a significant return on the back end when you actually sell it. And on that note, that's something you really want to consider also as you're looking at it from an investor standpoint. Hawaii has HARPTA, which is a 7.25% capital gains tax on real estate. And so you want to look into that and kind of forecast. If you're going to move to Hawaii and become a resident, you'd be exempted from that when you actually sell the property. But a lot of times that's a disincentive for people to sell property because they're going to get hit with a pretty big tax when they sell it if they're not a Hawaii resident. So something to look into and consider with your CPA before you make that investment.
Yeah, that's a great. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at investments, and why Hawaii is different, and I always kind of chuckle with people because people will come to me all the time and go, "Hey, I want to be cash flow positive and get a 5% return on that cash flow." And then so you're looking at an investment from one component, just the cash flow component. You have this leveraging component that's different than every other place or every other type of investment where you can borrow against. Bring in 20% or 30% of the value of the property, use somebody else's money to borrow against it, have a payment, have a renter pay that portion off and down. So you are getting a return on the principal reduction. Then you got appreciation over time and you got depreciation that you can use on your taxes. So there's actually 4 different ways you can get a return on a property. So I look at cap rate and then what is the life of the performance of that property over time is called an internal rate of return. And that's the bigger analysis that you should do from a property. What is this thing? How's this going to perform in all the different areas based on what you need?
Yeah, that's a great point. And you know what? Tom Kerr agrees. Tom's got a big comment here, so I'm going to pop it over this way. So Tom says, hey, be sure to talk to your accountant. Let me see if I can make a better way to do it. There's no easy way I'm going to make this work, so we'll just do it this way. Tom says, be sure to talk to your accountant. If you own a condo as a rental, not your residence, then sell your mainland residence and also sell your condo rental at the same time to buy a bigger condo or house. You could face big capital gains tax on the condo sale. Better to sell your mainland residence, move to the condo, live in it for a couple of years. It becomes your residence to avoid the capital gains tax impact. Thanks, Tom. Love the tip. Appreciate it. And again, the moral of the story is, there's a lot of issues over here. There's a lot of moving parts. I hope that we simplified it, but I think in our attempt to simplify, we've also explained the complexity of it. And it's not a trivial thing. You really want to have experts to kind of help you along with this. And all kinds of other questions, like Mark, who's a member of the Islander Ohana, an alumni now, is that less than the capital gains tax on stocks? I don't know what the Dylan.
I'm not even talking federal capital gains. I'm talking state capital gains. So
State
yeah,
capital
your
gains.
your federal capital gains are a whole separate liability you got to examine.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. But I guess he's saying are there state capital gains taxes on stocks? No. Actually, no.
Well,
Okay,
actually,
but
I don't know that. I mean, I'm
you got to talk to your accountant.
But yeah,
because
we have all kind of we tax everything in Hawaii, so chances are there is.
And not just that, but I saw the news that there's a lot of taxes that are on deck to be passed. We may be Hawaii may be number one tax rate, number one in income tax rate, number one in capital gains tax rate. So not the kind of number one I want, but it is happening. Great feedback from everybody. Jim's asking Scott, does the Kaka'ako condo tower still have units available? General price range, cash deal. You want to get a hold of Scott, Jim. There's a lot of condo towers. I know that was a Waikiki tower that he was talking about, the Ilikai. Scott, anything I'm not too sure. Jim, you need to go to hold of us. Click on the link. You've got to contact me. I'll connect you with Scott and can answer all your questions. We want to move on because we want to do our diamonds and deals here section. This has been great questions from everybody. Michael, you gave a good question. Broadly cover what people want to move to Hawaii should be looking out for. Michael, that's what the website's all about. Go to livinginhawaii.com. Make sure you're on the newsletter. Go to the website. I got tons of content on the site that talks about all these topics. I've got, the YouTube channel talks about all these topics. And I popped the link in the chat that gives you to the classes, to the Islander Ohana, that we've got a spring cohort. It's already started, it's sold out, but we're going to have another cohort probably in the summer, unless I decide to take a summer break. Get a hold of that because it's a complicated question, but I've got a lot of content about that. Okay, I think it's time. Let's get this. We're running a little bit late, which we characteristically do not do, but it is what it is because it's been a fun show today. Diamonds and deals. So here's what we talk about: inspirational properties that we find in Hawaii. So the first one is Heidi has given us in Honoa Pi'ilani Road in Lahaina. This is looks like a condo for $570. Heidi, what are we looking at?
So this is a vacation rental condo. It's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. Great ocean views, as you can see in the picture. Nicely updated. It's being sold turnkey and furnished. You can just start renting it right away. No permits or anything needed. They do have an on-site rental management office, but you could also manage it yourself or use a different property management company if you wanted. And yeah, just really great vacation rental option.
Heidi, what I really appreciate about what you bring to the show is I'm going to bet that when you were in school, you did all your homework and you did really, 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 really well. Because I could tell you're prepared. You come to the show prepared. You come prepared with answers, and you even give this perfect property. We're talking about vacation rentals, and what does Heidi bring? A killer vacation rental with the ocean view and the right numbers. And it's all set to go. Well done. I love this. Is the actual view of the unit, right? That we're looking at, Heidi?
Yeah, I actually just listed this 5 days ago. So
has it sold yet?
Almost. It's still available right now.
All right, folks, you want the vacation rental, this killer vacation rental with the amazing view. Mike's got a quick question. Michael's got where's the square footage for that Maui condo? Where is it located? How far is the swimming beach?
So there's not a sandy beach right in front of this property. It's kind of a rocky shoreline, but you can walk down to this little beach, and it's a favorite spot for seeing turtles. There's always sea turtles out there. So it's really cool. If you're interested, I can send you more pictures and more information on it.
How much square footage on it?
It's a little under 600 square feet.
600 square feet. Great. Thank you, Heidi. Michael, you want to get a hold of us for sure. Click on the link in the description. All right. Let's go to our next one here. Scott's got the condo, 1-bedroom, 1-bath Waikiki condo. Looks really nice inside. Listed for $460. Scott, let's hear about it.
Yeah, they did a great job with the one. This is called Villa on Eaton Square, which is off of Habron Lane, which is tucked over behind Hilton Hawaiian Village over in that kind of area. This is a great unit because you have the side end window and it's been completely renovated. And if you see in the lower right-hand corner, if you go to the rooftop area, I think it's like the 43rd floor, they have a full pool up there. They have a workout area, a yoga room, just a neat amenities deck that's up there for $460,000, fully renovated, top to bottom. it's a pretty good unit. It's 500, and you do have a lanai, which that lanai looks out over the Aloha, so you have distance. You have sunsets and you get distance from other buildings, but it's about almost 600 square feet, just a little shy of, with about a 50 square foot lanai. The maintenance fee is $735 a month, but includes central air, electricity, water, sewer, trash.
Wow. And this too could be a vacation rental if you want. Could not.
Yeah, you're not in that district. It's longer term, but yeah, great building.
Great building. Great understood. Yeah. So this is if you want to buy a 1-bedroom condo with this for to live in. Excellent. Thanks, Scott. That's really looks. I mean, beautiful. The renovation looks stunning. I like the whiteness to it. Okay, Dylan. All right, Dylan gives us a 3-bedroom, 3-bath on 9 acres, 1.65. Dylan, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, I'll start with the excuse, right, that I did look for a good condo to put on here. But last month we were up 46% in the number of condos that sold, and like 10 days into this month, there was as many condos sold as last March. So we're on track to way surpass that this month. So there's basically nothing to sell. Sorry, I got no condos for you guys. But instead, I picked a property that is something that I would buy, right? I mean, this is actually right near where I live, up in Kealakekua. Beautiful country home. It is actually off the grid, so it's fully powered by solar. It's got, you can kind of see in the back there, it's a wood shop right now, but it's got like a 1,000 square foot warehouse that you could do whatever you wanted inside of, and just sweeping ocean views of the Kona coast, and very nicely upgraded inside. It's a really modern feel in just a kind of a simple country home on 9 acres, really secluded, beautiful area. So this is what 1.6 will get you in Kona if you want some space. So, you know, the home's not extravagant, but the space is important. So
yeah, absolutely stunning. Look some those ocean views. I'm looking at that ocean view. Look left.
Yeah, right out the kitchen and the dining room. I mean, you're looking at just 180 ocean views. So killer.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. Hey, great job, gang. Mark Lowe, also a alumni of the Islander Ohana, Honu. Honu is the Hawaiian word for turtles. Yes. So one of the coolest things about turtles, as Heidi had mentioned, it's the place that is the condos near where you can get turtles. It's really cool to go out there. There's a couple places on Oahu. Some of the coolest things, some of the neatest events is when you're in the water swimming and you run across a turtle. That is like one of the coolest things. And everyone who's been in Hawaii long enough and gone in the water long enough has had the famous turtle experience. All right. We're just running a little bit over time. Not too bad. We're going to wind this up with our closing thought for today. So I got a little motivational closing thought. Let's kind of start from the bottom up. Heidi, give us your closing inspirational thought for today.
Well, I just want to wish everybody a wonderful weekend and a great week ahead. And thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.
There you go. That's a great closing thought. Dylan, I want a Dylanism. Give me one. You're muted.
No worry, beef curry.
No worry. Okay, explain what that means. Explain what beef curry means.
Beef curry is a dish. I don't know if there's any real context, but just no worry. That's the big takeaway this week is, with the weather, and we've had some news stories about Mauna Loa kind of rumbling and stuff, and I've gotten a lot of inquiries. It's funny, from folks in the mainland, kind of worried about me, worried about their property. And I totally appreciate that. But the funny thing is, when you live here, nobody even talks about it, right? It is what it is. It's always been that way, and we don't worry about it. So, I mean, don't worry. Just don't worry.
And no worry, beef curry is a local local figure of speech. You say no worry, beef curry. That's kind of like what you would say locally. It means, in short, means no worry. Scott, what's your closing thought for today?
I just want to thank everybody that comes on here and asks questions, and it keeps me sharp, and it keeps me focused on looking for things to be able to share with you guys that join us and share that information. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us every week. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to join in with that thought. And my closing thought for today that just kind of popped in my head, because of course I'm not prepared for it, is, enjoy the moment. Savor the moment, whatever the moment may be. If the moment is bright sunshine, savor that bright sunshine moment. If the moment is cloudy and lousy weather like we've had in Hawaii for the past week or so, well, savor that as well. It's not going to be here forever. Nothing is here forever. Things are fleeting. That's why, to me, enjoy the moment. If it's a great moment, savor it, enjoy it. If it's a lousy moment, savor that too. It'll be over soon. Savor the moment. All right, folks. I think that's it. We're getting some mahalos from Mahalo Town. We got you, Ray. Welcome back, Ray. Good to see you too, folks. I think that's it. We're going to bid you all on aloha and see you in a couple weeks. See you later, everybody.
Aloha.